There is a brown bottle sitting in your medicine cabinet right now. Not in a hardware store. Not on order. In your house, next to the bandages, and it cost you about $5. That same bottle, poured down your kitchen drain once every 2 weeks, dissolves the slimy film that coats the inside of your pipes, kills the odor coming up from the trap, and costs you pennies per pour. The jug under your sink does the same routine job and costs $15 to $25. That $5 bottle is standard 3% hydrogen peroxide. The branded drain cleaner jug is caustic acid, or lye, priced 3 to 5 times higher, and it can take the skin off your hand if you're not careful. Now, before you write this off as too good to be true, let me kill the obvious objection. You're thinking peroxide is that weak stuff you dab on a cut. It can't possibly clean a pipe. Here's the number that changes that. 3% is exactly the concentration the plumbing trade points to for routine drain maintenance because it is strong enough to break down organic gunk, but gentle enough that it won't attack your pipe the way the caustic jug does. The weakness you're picturing is the entire reason it's safe to pour down your drain every 2 weeks. The jug is stronger, and that strength is the problem, not the selling point. But this method only works for one kind of house, and it is the wrong choice for another. In 1988, a study drew that line clearly, and I'll come back to it. For now, understand that knowing which side of that line your house sits on is the whole point. Here's what's actually happening inside your drain, not the clog, the buildup that comes before the clog. Every time you wash your hair, rinse a pan, or run dishwater, a little organic residue clings to the pipe wall. Hair, grease film, soap scum, food particles. It accumulates slowly, a slimy ring that narrows the pipe, traps odor, and eventually backs up into your sink. That smell rising from your kitchen drain on a warm afternoon is that layer breaking down. You're smelling years of residue sitting in the dark, going anaerobic. For decades, the product sold to solve that problem was the caustic jug. Pour it in, wait, flush. It works, to a degree. It also eats at older pipe material, rides in a plastic container straight to a landfill, and trains you to wait for a problem before you do anything. That last part is the one worth sitting with. Nobody sells you prevention. Prevention doesn't have a repeat customer. A bottle you already own, poured every couple of weeks, generates no emergency. No emergency means no service call. No branded jug means no shelf sale. The drain cleaner aisle exists because 3% peroxide sitting in your medicine cabinet can't be branded, can't be upsold, and can't be made to feel urgent. That isn't a conspiracy. That is just the shape of a revenue model. The routine that would have prevented the buildup was never going to be the thing anyone put on a shelf with a logo on it. Once you understand what that bottle actually does to the inside of a drain, it is going to be hard to explain why you ever bought anything else. So here's what the cheap bottle actually does, and why it works. That brown bottle breaks down into water and oxygen the moment it contacts organic matter. Hair, grease film, soap scum. The oxygen it releases is what does the work. What's happening is oxidation. The peroxide tears apart the cellular structure of the organic buildup lining your pipe wall, loosening the whole layer so hot water can flush it away. It fizzes when it hits the drain. You can hear it working. When the reaction finishes, nothing is left behind but water and oxygen. No acid pooling in your trap. No lye sitting on your fittings. Veteran plumbers, the repair trade names that have been fixing pipes for 40 years, will tell you the same thing. 3% peroxide dissolves organic debris and is safe for routine maintenance on your pipes, unlike acid and lye cleaners that work by brute chemical force. Used every couple of weeks, it stops the buildup from forming in the first place, instead of waiting for the day the sink won't drain at all. That is the entire logic of the method. It is maintenance, not rescue. And maintenance done early is almost always cheaper than the emergency it prevents. $5 versus $20. That is the bottle you already own against the jug you keep buying to do the same routine job. Peroxide works out to pennies per pour. You've been paying 3 to 5 times more for the harsher version of a tool that was already in your house. Now here's where the story turns. Everything I've told you assumes one thing about your home: that it is connected to a city sewer line, because in 1988, a study published in the journal Groundwater Monitoring and Remediation looked at what hydrogen peroxide does when it reaches a septic system's drain field. The finding is the exact reason this method has a hard limit that does not bend. A septic system doesn't run on chemistry the way your pipes do. It runs on bacteria, specifically anaerobic bacteria, the kind that digest solid waste without needing oxygen. That is the entire design of the system. The tank works because those bacteria are left alone to do their job in an oxygen-free environment. Pour a strong oxidizer in regularly, and you release oxygen directly into a system that depends on the absence of it. You disrupt the bacteria digesting the waste. The 1988 study found that the disruption didn't stop at the tank. The peroxide compromised the structure of the drain field's soil itself, reducing its ability to absorb and filter waste. The damage wasn't to a pipe, it was to the ground beneath your yard. So, the habit that saves a city sewer home money is the habit that slowly damages a septic home's drain field. Same bottle. Opposite result depending on which house you're standing in. That is not a minor footnote. That is the whole shape of the method. It was never pour it everywhere without thinking. It was always know your system first. Here's the second hard line. The bottle in your medicine cabinet is 3% concentration. That is the only concentration you use for this. Industrial hydrogen peroxide runs 30 to 35%. That is not a stronger version of the same routine. That is a chemical hazard that can cause serious burns and carries fire risk at high concentrations. 3% only. The brown drugstore bottle. Nothing higher. And one more limit worth naming. This method handles organic buildup: hair, grease, soap film, food residue. It does not fix a collapsed pipe. It does not clear a root intrusion. It does not dissolve a grease plug that's been hardening in the line for 5 years. If your sink is draining slowly despite regular maintenance, or if it backs up completely, that is a different problem, and it needs a plumber, not a pour. Peroxide is prevention. It is not a rescue tool. Here's how to do it right. Start with about half a cup of baking soda poured down the drain. Let it sit for 10 minutes, then pour in about 1 cup of 3% peroxide. It will FO-AM. That is the reaction working. Leave it for at least 30 minutes. Overnight is fine for a drain with heavier buildup. Flush with hot water. For maintenance going forward, 1 cup of peroxide every 2 weeks, followed by a hot water flush, is enough to keep organic buildup from forming again. That is the whole routine. No tools, no special equipment. 1 bottle from the drugstore and a few minutes every couple of weeks. Before you make this a habit, confirm 2 things: whether your home is on a municipal sewer line or a septic system, and whether your pipes are PVC or metal. Older copper and cast iron plumbing can be sensitive to repeated oxidizer exposure over time. PVC handles it without issue. Municipal sewer, PVC pipe, routine organic buildup. That is who this method is for. Now here is the part that connects it all. You've been walking past this bottle for years. It's been sitting next to the bandages the entire time. You bought it for scrapes. You bought it for gargling. You may have used it to lighten your hair once in 1990. And the whole time it was also the cheapest maintenance tool your drains have ever had access to. The plumbing repair trade has known this for decades. It didn't make it onto a shelf because a $5 bottle used for pennies per pour doesn't build a business. The brown bottle was never a plumbing product. It was never marketed to you as one. It costs $5, works for pennies per pour, and it's honest enough to know the one line it should never cross. That's exactly what it is. Not a secret, not a miracle. A cheap tool that does its quiet job and understands its own limits, which is precisely why nobody ever thought to sell it to you as one. Tell me one thing. Are you on city sewer or a septic system? Drop it in the comments. That single answer changes everything about whether this method belongs in your house, and I want to see how this audience splits. If you're the kind of person who believes the cheapest fix was overlooked because it makes no one any money, you already know what to do. The most expensive drain cleaner in your kitchen and the cheapest one in your bathroom have been under the same roof this whole time. One of them made somebody money. The other one just worked.